All right, we're live. Episode 74. I'm Jason. This is Life in Tech.
I'm Dan.
And our special guest
is who?
Introduce yourself.
Dr. Ken Mayer.
Oh, throws down the doctor.
Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller. Really excited to be here.
Are you trying to say I'm Tom Likas?
I don't know. Well, definitely not
Listen,
the Rose guy from last year, right?
I may not be a lot of things, but I'm fucking better looking than
Oh, here comes this sweet internet.
Well, he's in Carolina. This is what happens when you don't take over the infrastructure properly as a country.
to my new office. It's almost finished, man. And listen, dude, come to find out, this entire valley is nothing but rocks underneath the soil. Nothing, man. Nothing but giant rock. Okay? On one hand, that's kind of cool because there's probably some fossils down there we can find one day. If I get ambitious and bored.
Into archaeology.
Yeah. But it makes it bad when you're trying to trench 18 inches, like 25 feet from the house. And so, of course, I had various people come out and locate their lines, like the power, the cable, the RJ11, which, I mean, I don't use, so you could just leave it. I don't care. But anyway, so because of that, the cable company originally, now I know who owned this house. They're part of the family. And I've talked to them, and I know what problems they had getting, at that time, Time Warner, now it's Spectrum, to actually put cable in. Okay. Now, the distribution pole is on my property, and it's probably 30 feet from the house in the backyard. Okay. It's right behind the office. And these morons, when they ran the cable from the pole to the house, took the shortest path possible.
Oh, no.
Because they don't want to deal with this rock, and they don't bury the cable correctly. So the cable is like an inch, maybe 2 inches to be fair.
But they didn't even make a conduit?
Not even in a conduit, brother. Not even in a conduit. And part of it overlaps the power.
Oh, that's great. Oh, did you kill the power too?
Kill the power too?
No. Luckily, the power people ran it correctly, where they ran it like perpendicular and then parallel. So it's not transecting the lawn, right? But man, that trencher hit that cable. Done. So now they're
together. Why didn't you splice it back together?
Use duct tape.
No. I want these guys to come out and redo it correctly. So they're going to come this afternoon. They're going to give me a temporary cable, and then they open up a ticket with the other maintenance team, and they'll come and they'll have to do a trench. And listen, I'll be there watching. Because you're going to do it correctly.
You know, this is a good lesson for all those people that want to try to take over a state. The first thing you do is you send the appropriate people to take a look at the infrastructure, so you know exactly what you're getting into.
That's right.
You know, and then what you should take the British approach. You go and find out who's the second most powerful person, and then you pit number 2 versus number 1. You back number 2, so that way they overthrow number 1, and now number 2 is weak because they just had a battle, and then you can take the number 2 out and install your own puppet.
I think it's kind of the same strategy. Well, yeah, he has. I mean, look at him. That's why he's dressed like that, man. It works. I think it's actually the same strategy that lobsters follow. You know, lobsters fight for dominance. There's always the third one lurking in the background because it's all about sexual reproduction and territory, right? And they just wait for the top 2 to blast, and you know they're over there cheering with their little claws. Oh man! So no, I want them to do it correctly. So I'm not going to say that I intentionally did it, but I surely wasn't upset that I did do it.
Again, you know, you should have probably sent the appropriate people to inspect the infrastructure ahead of time.
So what he's saying is you should have invited Dan to come to South Carolina.
These hands don't do manual labor.
I can tell. There's no calluses on them.
I know. There's none.
You're a true white-collar worker.
I'm saving him for when I need help building my chicken house.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Are you really building a chicken house?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you are out in the Carolinas, so...
I mean, it's appropriate for him. He's one of the biggest cocks I know.
There's why we don't monetize right there.
But I heard this joke yesterday, man. I may have a needle dick, but I fuck like a sewing machine.
I'm not not getting into that part of it. I'm just saying that, your temperament's is for some people a little bit less to be desired. For me, I find that there's much humor in it. But
who are these people?
Many people told me.
Well, what are you gonna do, man?
Speaking of that, I mean, because it's those kind of things. So this whole many people stuff came from. I started using that quite a bit because President Trump does. And I'm like, who are these people? He's constantly just many people told me. Like who? I don't know anyone. That.
Do you have a committee around you that says these kind of things?
So, I mean, this is great. I mean, if anyone wants to believe President Trump is dumb, they're very mistaken. This man is a showman. No matter what he does, he turns it around and it becomes an event. What was it? Just several days ago, he's like, screw NATO, screw NATO, screw NATO. Now he gets them to somehow going to contribute more, which was really the goal. And in the meantime, Congress is back there passing, you're not going to do this. He's just like, whatever, you're going to do whatever. I'm going to do whatever I want anyway. The guy turns everything into a show. I think he must be taking everything from P.T. Barnum's playbook, because maybe President Trump might be the greatest showman, because it is fascinating to watch how he gets these things done.
I don't know that he's the greatest showman. I agree that he's definitely a showman, and I would suggest that because look, man, just spend 5 minutes on Twitter and you'll see what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. This propensity to either idolize him as the smartest businessman of all time or to denigrate him as the biggest idiot of all time is equally extremist in its dismissiveness of what is true. And what's true is that he's the president and that he's saying things. So rather than actually attacking what matters, I don't mean attacking as in disproving it or anything aggressive like that, just rather than dealing with, that's a better way to say it, the actual idea and what's being said, the norm now is to just dismiss it through ad hominems. The fact of the matter is it's not really relevant whether he's smart or dumb. He is what he is, and that's what you're forced to deal with. But rather than dealing with it because it's too hard, we have this now this polarized extremism. On one side, he's a genius, which I don't think he is. And on the other side, he's a raving moron, which I don't think he is either.
What's interesting to me about this overall is for all the people who want to say he's dumb, then how dumb are they for not getting everyone to the polls to have voted for the candidate that they wanted to? Who's dumber, the president or those that allowed him to get into power as president?
Yeah, well, it creates a really dangerous situation, man. I mean, so imagine 2 years from now, he gets reelected. So half the country supports him, but they're idiots. Really, 175 million people are dumb. And so what happens when he's no longer president, whether it's the next cycle or the one after that, right? What are we going to do with all these dumb people? That's dangerous.
I have the solution. It has nothing to matter. It doesn't matter if President Trump's the president or not, or there's some other president. Until this, it does not matter. The only thing that has not changed in Washington in 20 years are the people in Congress. You may have had a handful. Okay, we've never done this study, but how many people in the House of Representatives have been there for 20 years? How many in the Senate? I bet, and this is just a complete guess, 75% have been there for 20 years.
Well, McConnell has.
Yeah. I wouldn't dispute that. It's probably higher.
Yeah. So, but and how many have just changed in the last couple of years? Only a few senators here and there, a few those in the representatives. Come on, you want to make real change in this country? Start at your local, state, then Congress. That's where you're going to make the president. Come on,
term limits.
Here. How about term limits on the Supreme Court too?
That is what I was thinking about this week. Why should they these people are barely computer literate, and we're expecting them to understand our privacy concerns, forcing people's biometrics on their phones to unlock them. They get arrested. And I mean, we got the Stingray decision a week ago. That was good for us. You know, they need a Fourth Amendment right and a warrant now. But when you think about these people, some of them have been there for 30 years, and they still do handwriting. They'd fully admit they still write notes to each other, no emails.
Hey, I had to find a piece of paper to write that, and it's an envelope because someone sent me a card.
Somebody likes you?
I can't say it was. It
wasn't a nice card.
It wasn't. I didn't say it was anything about being nice, but someone sent me a card, and I don't have any paper. I only have a pen here because as part of my duties, I have to I still have to sign invoices for them for people to pay. I'm like,
wow, that's caveman.
I'm like, why can't I just go into the accounting system and go check, done?
And it has to be blue ink so they know it's not a photocopy too, right?
Actually, they don't give me a hard time about that.
Ah, interesting.
Because it's internal invoices. Now, for official documents, like when I have to sign the quarterly reports and stuff, they want blue ink.
Yeah.
Because that actually gets to the record of the company. So.
Well, and I'll say this too, man. I mean, talking about technology as it applies to politics, this seems to be a reoccurring
sorry,
theme.
I can just interrupt you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because when I get these things electronically, I sign it electronically, but I change the font to blue.
Yeah, I do the same thing, man.
Here's my Pro pin.
Yeah.
Font changes to blue. That's still my signature. It's electronic.
So talking about technology and politics, now I think this is one of the issues too, man. So like on Sunday, I talked about running as a candidate in the Pirate Party in North Carolina. Right. So I reached out. What's that?
How's the progress? You've had like 5 days.
Well, all right. I'm here to report on it because it's zero. And this is the interesting reason why. So I reached out through the approved channels as they're documented at the National Pirate Party level in the U.S. There's a specific process you're supposed to go through to join the party, so forth and so on, right? And part of it is like this 1990s mechanism to join essentially what looks like a forum, like a bulletin board forum, you know, like PHP Nuke or some shit. and there must be some manual process in the background where they have to approve your account before you can even talk to anybody. Dude, I've been waiting on that since we got done with the podcast. I did it immediately after the podcast on Sunday.
Well, that's
and I'm still waiting.
Progress. No, that's probably because you've filled up the stuff. You've tried to join the forum. Now you're waiting on someone else. That's some progress.
I got one better for you. So this week we went to the DMV to get registered in North Carolina as residents and citizens and get our driver's license converted.
You don't have 2 forms of identification. You don't have enough utility bills yet.
Oh, no. We had everything squared away and ready to go, man. Marcia handles all that for us. But they asked
Mrs. Pittman.
That's right. Mrs. Dr. Pittman. Fuck you. So they asked at the end, what party do you want to be affiliated with? And I said, listen, let me explain something to you. First of all, what are my options?
Oh, no.
And they went through and actually very progressive, man. They have libertarian, they have independent, so forth and so on. And I said, well, I would really prefer that you fill in, even if it's other check and with a text box, Pirate Party. And here's the thing, man. You would think that the lady would be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? She's like, oh, hey, that's great. No problem.
What? No pushback at all from the DMV?
Zero, man.
That's impressive.
Other than the wait, because the system's a little different than I'm used to, other than the wait, the people themselves, the inspectors, were fucking awesome. Awesome.
So I'd say you're at least at like 1.5% progress then.
Yeah,
that's better than it was Sunday.
Better than Sunday.
Steps have been taken.
You're really serious about this.
Rome did not fall overnight, my friend. Except
that's right.
There it definitely would have. But
well, all big things have small beginnings.
That's true.
Very easy for you. Yeah. See, we can't say inescapable. But yeah, man, that's my progress. So I'm going to give it a couple more days, and then I believe they have an IRC channel.
No, that doesn't surprise me.
On there. You know, and if I have to force a sever and take channel op, I'll do it.
I ask my students every semester, do you know what IRC is? They have no idea. So that's how much older that system's getting now.
I mean, I guess it's better than Slack.
Ugh.
I hate Slack. I think Slack might be one of the worst things that's out there now.
I think the idea of it's great, but the implementation of it is dog shit.
Well, I mean, that's part of the reason why I say maybe in theory, and there's a lot of things in theory that are good, like, hey, we should go to Mars. I mean, I was reading an article about that. Okay, so my numbers might be slightly off, but it was some cat that was an astronaut already. He was gone up on several missions. So he's saying that to go to Mars, they will have to be in space for like 500 some days in order to get there and back. That the amount of radiation that they will be exposed to, we do not have the technology to protect the spacecraft, the electronics, let alone the astronauts that would have to do it.
Just a death sentence.
Yeah, basically do that, and the chances that there will be equipment failure before they're even return is extremely high. Because
but would you do it just so you can say you're the first?
Well, so the reason why they're saying is because we still base everything from a propulsion system based on fuel. The amount of fuel means that they have to essentially cut corners somewhere else. And where are they going to cut it on? The protection of the people and the actual electronics. Because if you don't have the fuel to get there and back, you're certainly going to die.
Yeah. So two things, man. That idea cuts very close to some of the prominent conspiracy theories around the moon landing hoax. That we couldn't have landed on the moon because of the radiation past the Van Allen belt. I mean, that's like almost word for word one of the conspiracy theories.
Right.
But more practically, that's also why there's been discussion of setting up a fueling station on one of Mars' moons, so that you only need enough fuel to get there, and then you can refuel.
Correct.
If you want to come back. Yeah. But look, man, what's wrong with having a one-way trip? I call that I call that being a pioneer.
Yeah, maybe. Now, they weren't saying that they were going to die directly from the radiation during the trip. It was that they're going to die. They're going to cut off a lot of their lifespan due to the radiation exposure.
Well, yeah. I mean, radiation isn't really healthy, especially for that duration. I mean, it doesn't have to be very much, but length of exposure is bad.
Yeah. The other part is there's this thing that is we miss them quite a bit, but it's called. I'll let you all talk while I find this thing. I always forget it.
Are you at a standing desk?
Of course.
I am too, for the record. I'm just happy to
Are
see
you?
it.
Yeah. Well, Jason's a dwarf, so it just looks a little bit shorter.
That's right. I saw your messages about that.
Oh, and so I'm automating it now, man. Because I have a timer. I've read some of the literature around. Because look, if sitting for 8 hours is bad, so is standing for 8 hours. We know that. And so then the question becomes, what's the correct interval? How much should you stand to how much should you sit? And on what frequency should you be changing those? And funny enough, some people have started to figure out some formulas for that. And it seems like at least you want to start, not end up with 20 to 8, 20 minutes sitting to 8 minutes standing. So I built a little timer and it beeps. But listen, man, sometimes I don't hear the beep. Sometimes I hear the beep and I don't give a shit because I'm busy doing something. So here's my answer. My desk has an automated memory control underneath. Okay, so it has like 1 through 4, kind of like a car seat where you can program your settings. Mm-hmm. So I got my Mindstorm kit. And so I'm going to program my Mindstorm with the little Lego legs with that interval, and it's just going to press the buttons for me. Screw it.
Interesting.
And then, I mean, when the desk moves, I mean, I guess you have a choice. You can not move, but...
All right. Well, I can't find exactly what it is I was referring to, but I know that what it causes it or we can see it. It's whatever is emitted from the sun that causes like the northern lights. Those bursts can take out, and they happen all the time. Typically, they don't hit the Earth directly. We see the effects constantly from the northern light. But if one of those bursts were to hit the spaceship, it's fried. It's like it's worse than an overall. What's it called?
You're thinking like an EMP?
Yeah, it's worse than that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, yeah, because you also get the heat.
Right. So it would completely just, and it happens all the time, and there's currently no protection from that.
No. Well, so yeah, if you take that concept,
talk about a laser.
Well, I was just going to say, because my understanding is it's more or less like a directed nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
Isn't it just called the solar storm?
There's solar storms. There's coronal mass ejections.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Coronal mass injection.
And that's the big dangerous one because of the radiation, the heat, the radiation, and then the magnetic field that is coming with it, which is where you get the EMP effect. Right. So now you understand maybe a little bit of why in 4 to 6 billion years, when the entire sun does that, not just a little piece of it, why I'm obsessed with solving that problem.
Even though it's 46 billion years away.
4 to 6. 4 to 6.
Oh, 4 to 6.
Yeah, man, because that's an enormous problem.
Because we haven't even made a fraction of progress. Like Jason's only made 1.5% progress.
For the pirate party.
Dude, we're not even registering, like we're like well over 1,000 to the right on the decimal point on progress to this.
I wonder if we have a Tennessee pirate party.
We can't even get to Mars.
Oh, we do have a pirate party here.
In Tennessee, of course.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Let's see here. Last post.
I'm now thinking about just starting it up here in Indiana now too.
Yeah, we do have one.
But they don't on the northern side of the sovereign territory of Carolina. They have one on the southern side.
Wait, didn't this originate in Sweden?
Yeah.
That's what
I think we lost the ninja again. That horrible, horrible internet that he's got.
Oh, he's kind of frozen with a weird look on his face. So what happens when you don't bury your cables properly?
Yeah, he's blaming it on his the Linux computer that he's on. He's probably running Arch.
I always saw Jason as a command line kind of guy.
Yeah, he's either. Oh no, I'm sorry, he's not running Arch. If he was running Arch, he would have been fine. He's probably running Ubuntu. We'll find
Mint. He's Mint.
Yeah. Hopefully.
We lost him.
I hope it doesn't drop off the whole thing.
Your office is sparsely decorated, by the way.
It's not decorated at all at the moment. And I've got to remember to. So at home, I've got my green screen on the computer. On my personal computer that I brought in here to do this, I forgot to add the green screen application. So I need to add the green.
So it's actually an app?
Yeah, so it takes over the camera.
I asked Jason before we started and before you got on how in the heck you did the Star Wars background, and I couldn't figure that out on Sunday.
Yeah,
I'm doing that.
Sometimes it's Star Wars, sometimes I got my Gladiator. So we were talking about John McAfee. I put John McAfee in the background.
Crazy Man?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But do a little bit of everything there, because why not? So things in Tennessee.
Hey, a
lot of our audience doesn't know anything about you, Dr. Ken. So why don't you tell them a little bit about you?
All right.
Clearly you're an Apple fan because you've got those silly earbuds in your ear.
Come on, man. These things are awesome. Oh,
Jesus
his Arch
Christ.
Linux rebooted. Or excuse me, Mint Linux.
Yeah, he's running Mint Linux.
Mint? What is this, a gum? Jesus Christ, man. Dude, it's the 21st century. I don't understand how these problems exist. I'm really getting aggravated.
Are you on Verizon or AT&T for that?
No, I'm on Sprint for my phone. It's not that.
Oh,
It's
say no
in
more.
In Ubuntu, there seems to be an issue with, on a laptop, the USB subsystem essentially thinking that nothing's going on, even though it's actively working, because I'm tethered to my phone through a USB connection, not over wireless or Bluetooth.
I told you he was going to blame this on Ubuntu.
I thought, is this an ID10T error? I mean, I just
now.
Is it getting personal now?
Oh no, I don't give a fuck what you say.
I mean, worse than the things that I've said to him. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's not even approaching it. But yeah, man, I don't know. It seems like, from what I can tell, it's actually a really interesting problem. I just don't give a fuck about solving it because I want to get work done. That somehow the USB subsystem thinks you're not working, so it puts itself to sleep, but then it instantly tries to wake up, and then it crashes and it locks everything up.
So this is why I just, at this point in time and where I'm at in my life, I just either use Windows or Mac.
Exactly. I just
don't have
the willpower to want to maintain a Linux machine anymore.
Well, look, man, and I'll say this, especially with Ubuntu, with the latest version, 18, they even now provide a minimal install, so you don't get any of the bloat that you have to go back and remove, right? It's backwards. It's great, man. And until I started plugging in all these USB devices, it works great because I don't have to screen share anymore because I'm not teaching, funny enough, Unix, because Adobe still doesn't produce the Linux plugin so you can screen share. Anyway,
thinking of that, what I'm going to do just to really irritate people when I start at Ross in just a few short weeks, I'm just going to bring I'm going to take the Chromebook that I've got and put Linux straight on there and be like, oh yeah, dude, I just run Linux.
Hey, I had a student who had a Chromebook, and I made fun of him until one day he told me he was VPNing and screen sharing on his Linux desktop at home. And I was like, how the hell are you running all this code for these big senior programs? And he's like, oh, I'm just VPN in my house. I'm like, makes sense.
Yeah,
sure it does.
I'm just going to do it. I'm going to run it natively on the Chromebook just because the Chromebook, its form factor is so small. And I still have 256 gigs of disk space. I mean, it's pretty nice. We unboxed it on air. It's pretty slick. But I'm thinking about, I'll just run Linux straight on there. Oh, he froze again.
Oh, USB. I noticed he's not using the big mic today. He's using headphones. So unbelievable. So anyway, yeah, I'm an Air Force brat. Moved all over the country. Graduated in Oklahoma. Harding College in Arkansas, little rinky-dink school. University of Dallas for master's, and like you and Jason, Capital for doctorate. Now I teach at